Hey friends, what you're about to watch is a recording of a live episode that Grandma's Wealth Wisdom did in partnership with the Not Your Average Financial podcast. If you're not familiar, Grandma's Wealth Wisdom is a Profit First professionals, certified as Profit First professionals, and both Not Your Average Financial podcast, the hosts there, and us also work on this concept called Bank on Yourself. And this live show was about combining the two and how those two cash flow management systems work together. Hope you enjoy.
So guys, the topic of today's webinar, before we pass it on to Amanda, is, a question really. How many people here are small business owners or would like to be? Maybe quickly just raise your hand for 2 minutes just to sort of get a sense of who is in business for yourself. It could be wow, look at all those hands going up. It could be a small business, it could be a freelance, or it could be a full-time thing. I don't know about you, Brandon. I'm seeing about at least 50%, and I see some other people who I know have yet to raise their hand who are also in business for themselves. Some of these folks that are in on our webinar today. My goodness. So we've got a lot of people who are running some sort of business, being the biggest driver of the real economy. It's not the Federal Reserve. It's not the government. It's not banks. It's the small business owner, just like you guys. So the problem I found with many businesses is that most businesses are a cash-eating monster. I also noticed that oftentimes we start our business with the intent to find freedom, to have our business work for us. But what ends up happening is we ended up buying a very expensive job. Our business starts making us work for it rather than our business working for us. So with your business, ask yourself, as you look over the last 3 months, 6 months, and even beyond, were you the last one to be paid? If you could turn that cash-eating monster into a cash-giving machine, how might you live different? How might you look for freedom in the places that we were currently, I guess, enslaved to our business? So if you could be profitable even Monday morning, like from this webinar, the next day the banks are open, if you could be profitable from the very next bank deposit, would you want to know about it? Would you want to find out how, rather than waiting for years to pay off that old debt, etc.? So that's what I really wanted to bring to our content today. Profit First professionals, Amanda Neely, Brandon Neely, they're going to talk about a very cool concept and a way to combine the power of Profit First with Bank on Yourself type whole life policies, something we talk quite a bit on our show, Not Your Average Financial Podcast. They're going to sort of show you how this can fit like nitro and glycerin together. Both of those elements are fine on their own, powerful on their own, but what if you could combine the two to create something truly remarkable, truly explosive, truly freeing in your business and for your family as well? So I suppose I'll pass the baton over to Amanda and let you guys run with it, and I'll be color commentary along the way.
Thank you, Mark. Really glad to be here. Really great to know you and to be part of the Not Your Average Financial Podcast family. Thanks so much for this opportunity. I want to turn my focus now to the people who are participating live, or maybe you're checking out the recording. I want to welcome you and kind of let you off the hook for a second. I want to share with you this next 45 minutes or so to how to set the stage. What are we going to be doing here? What is it that I want you to leave at the door, or leave outside of this time, and what do I want you to bring into it? So a few things I know that you know, but I want to remind you of. First of all, this is a no judgment zone. If you've failed at consistent profitability in the past, it's not your fault. There are bigger things at play. If you've tried to do Bank on Yourself, but it hasn't quite worked for you, no judgment there either. It's not your fault. There's so many things happening in the world, especially in 2020, that we can't have any judgment in this time we have together. And also, I want you to put your fear outside of this space as well. If you've been concerned in the past or fearful, you can't make your business work. You can't make your personal finances work to bring you that freedom you really want. Just put those fears to rest. This time is a time of bringing hope and believing in things that might seem impossible. And if you've ever thought in the past that the average accountant or the average financial planner wants you to think that you can't make your business work for you, you can't build the wealth that you really want, no matter what happens in your business, that's not true, right? If you've ever thought that they actually want to keep you struggling, you're probably right. Their business depends on you, depending on them. But we're here to show you how you can use time-tested systems to manage your cash flow, leverage your assets, increase your profits, and all of that toward the freedom that you really want in your life, your time freedom, your money freedom, building passive income, whatever that means to you when you hear that word freedom. Really, that's what all of this is geared toward. Managing your cash flow, leveraging assets, increasing profits, and freedom too from having to depend on someone else to interpret your numbers or tell you what to do with your money for you. Okay. So that's kind of setting things up. You might be wondering at this point, am I in the right place? I want to let you know who we created this live show for, who we had in mind when we were creating it. So you know you're in the right place if this is you. So here's who we want to help through what we're sharing today. People who want to make their businesses work for them. They want to make sure the business is actually putting money in their pocket, not just everybody else's pocket. And people who want to build wealth outside of their business so that no matter what happens to their business, they know that they have wealth that they can depend on. And if you want to do those two things, one or both of those things, without overwhelm from having to figure out all the numbers and how they can help you make better decisions, without any doubt that you're doing it quote unquote right, but you feel confident that you know your numbers, you know what they mean and how you can use them to improve your business, improve your personal finances, and you have that confidence. That's what we want you to get out of this time we have together. So welcome. People who want to make their businesses work for them and people who want to build wealth no matter what happens with your business in the future. And one more before we get into the content, quick heads up. We're here for educational and hopefully entertainment purposes. You want to make sure that you're going to work with a dedicated professional that helps you implement what we're going to talk about today, helps you decide if it's of benefit to you, how it can be a benefit to you. And we'll share more about that later of how you can find someone to take what we talk about today and actually help you to implement. And then now we can kind of introduce ourselves. If you're not familiar with who we are, we'll talk about who Brandon and I are, and then I'll hand it over to Mark for him to introduce himself. So Brandon and I actually started using Bank on Yourself about 7 years ago. Mark was our Bank on Yourself professional that helped us set up that system. At that time, we owned a coffee shop. It had been open for about 2.5 years, and we were on the edge of poverty. A bad season in our business would have caused us to go into bankruptcy. And it was really working with Mark that made us get serious about how to make sure that personally we were not on that edge of poverty. And I think like the next year, maybe 2 years later, I first heard about Profit First. And I was like, oh, that's simple. That's easy. I'll just put our owners pay first, make sure we get paid what we need to get paid first before we pay employees and buy all the other things that we needed to run our business. Simple enough. I just heard about it on a podcast and thought, okay, I'll just do this. And then Brandon got me the Profit First book for Christmas in 2018. And I was like, okay, I'll read this. It's fun. And I tore through it before the new year. And we truly adopted the full profit first system starting January 1, 2019. And we haven't turned back. It's been truly phenomenal. The basic idea, right, that I'd heard in the podcast and started testing, actually using the system, following what was in the book, was truly like way better than just thinking, oh, I can do this, right? And then right now we're both Bank on Yourself professionals and certified profit first professionals. We've gone through lots of training with both of those systems because they really changed our lives, and they've shown us how we can share that with others to help change their lives as well. And they can experience some of the same benefits that we've experienced, which is the only reason we decided to like pursue this as our path in life. So it's a little bit about us. Mark, I've talked for a long time. I want you to jump in and introduce yourself.
Sure. You guys know me if you are a regular listener of the podcast, but my name's Mark Willis, certified financial planner and Bank on Yourself professional. It didn't always start that way. It didn't come born that way, that's for sure. We were in debt up to our eyeballs leaving college, and we're paying it off the old-fashioned way. And in the midst of that process, we stumbled across the Bank on Yourself strategy, which was another and better way, I would say better way, to becoming better than debt-free. Not just debt-free, better than debt-free. And it was a long story, which I'll keep short today. But fast forward a few years, and I'm in my business, and my wife and I are running the business of Lake Growth Financial Services. But no one ever gave us that education for how to run the business, how to stay profitable in the business. And I remember putting my daughter to sleep every night. And as she's having, her regular night routine, I'd usually be in there reading a book while she's falling asleep. And one of those books happened to be Profit First. Now, if you're a young parent, oftentimes you want to get out of that bedroom as fast as you can to let her go to sleep and get on with your evening. But I couldn't leave that little bedroom because I was stuck reading that book, and I loved it. I was hooked. And I stayed in that bedroom reading. As I discovered the principles and power of Profit First. My jaw literally dropped as I was helping put my daughter to sleep. May have been some audible gasps from me waking her up again, but nonetheless, it's been a powerful, transformative tool in the tool belt to help, in teaching what I never got taught in school about how to run and create a profitable business.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Mark. I'm glad we met you in 2013, and I can't believe you got to truly adopt Profit First before us. But awesome that we are both using it now and have experienced those benefits, which we'll continue to share, I'm sure, more about that as we go. But let's turn back to the people who are here listening. Before we get into all the juicy content we have today, I want you to make a commitment to yourself, okay? Because we believe the only way for you to make your business work for you and build wealth, no matter what happens to your business, is through consistent business profitability. And we also believe through our experience that the only way to protect and consistently grow your wealth outside of your business is through implementing Profit First. Through implementing Bank on Yourself. But you might not believe that yet. That's what I've come to believe through my experience. I think that's true for Brandon. It might be true for Mark too. But our job is to show you how to increase your profits, how to build wealth. All I want from you right now is to commit to yourself this statement. And I'm going to ask you, will you commit that as soon as you know that Bank on Yourself and Profit First can help you, and that it can help you, increase your profits, manage your cash flow, build wealth outside your business, those kind of things, whatever you need help with right now, when you realize it can help you, that you'll get started right away. You'll go all in. Now, you aren't making this commitment to me. You aren't making this commitment to Mark. You're making this commitment to yourself and to your business. When you know the right investment to make for your own future growth, that you'll actually take it without holding back, that you'll go all in. So if you're ready, I want to invite you to make that commitment right now, and then we'll get going. So I know I can't hear you, but and I don't think we all need to unmute or anything. But right now, wherever you're at, say these words out loud after me, okay? I commit that as soon as I know that combining Bank on Yourself and Profit First can help me, I will go all in. Okay, if you just did that with me, you've done the hard work. Now you can just sit back for the rest of our time together today. Give us your full attention. Make sure your cell phone is on the other side of the room or on airplane mode. Make sure you've got all your other tabs and screens closed. And you can just sit back, sip your coffee, and take it all in so that you can decide if you know that Bank on Yourself and Profit First can help you. And then we'll talk about where you can go from after you kind of get to that place where you know. So we've talked a little bit about our story already, but to provide a little more context of how we came to what we're doing now. We actually started our entrepreneurial journey back in 2008. We wrote a business plan. We started working on it, and we opened a coffee shop in 2011. The whole idea behind this coffee shop was to make the world a better place. And instead of creating a nonprofit, we created a business that would generate profits, generate revenue that we could use to help other nonprofits, to build community, to really change the world, make it a better place. But by 2012, we were ready to quit. But we couldn't, right? We had too much debt. If you're a business owner, you've probably been in this place too. What brought us to that place where we were ready to quit is over 6 months, we had a series of unfortunate events. We had to put a cat down. I had a miscarriage. My mom had a stroke. Brandon's grandma died. Brandon had to have his appendix removed because he had appendicitis. It was a lot going on. And the emotional turmoil and trying to run the business, we really wanted to quit, both the business and frankly our marriage, but the debt was too much. We had to stay together. We had to stay in this business because there's no way to fix it. And that's when July 2013, we were doing a bunch of documentary screenings, and Mark had an office down the hall from us, and he picked a documentary for us to show. And that's when we learned the truth about the financial industry through that documentary. And as the credits rolled at the end, I was mad at Mark. I was mad that he had never told us what this documentary shared. And we were so ready for change. So we forced him to sit down with us and help us develop strategies to fix the situation we were in. And that's when we started using Bank on Yourself. It really helped us find hope, get to realize we could be better than debt-free, all of those kind of things. But our business still wasn't quote unquote profitable. I mean, what is really profit? I mean, we sat down with a mentor of ours and we told him, we're profitable. We're paying all our bills. We're paying off our debt. Aren't we awesome? And he just looked at us and said, yeah, but are you paying yourself what you're really worth? And we just hung our heads in shame. We weren't. And we weren't even paying ourselves what we had been making in cubicles before we started our business. We were not truly a sustainable, profitable business. And I'll never forget, we heard an executive from Whole Foods talk around that time as well. And he shared this phrase that's become a mantra for us. If it's not profitable, it's not sustainable. If it's not profitable, it's not sustainable. And that was really what pushed us to go on a search for profit and to make sure that what we were doing in business, what we were doing in life was sustainable for us, but was also sustainable in the larger environmental, societal aspect as well. And we kind of thought, could we take care of ourselves and be the change we wish to see in the world at the same time? What would that look like? And that's been a long search. And it's ultimately what led us to switch industries, sell our first business, and finally learn to really value ourselves. And that actually valuing ourselves helps us value others and value, societal change even more, which that's kind of counterintuitive, but it's something that has been kind of a place that I've had to come to of self-acceptance, and of realizing, yes, taking care of myself will help me take care of others even more, especially over the long term. So that's a little bit more of our story and kind of how the concepts came together for us. Mark, do you want to provide a little more context from your story as well?
Well, I got to just say very quickly, the power of what you just said can't be overstated. I notice businesses and business owners can fall off both ends of the horse or both ends of the log. One side is profit, greed. Greed is good. The only thing we want is to suck up as much money and take as much from others as possible. That's a terrible way to run your business. And most people would agree. And yet, the other side is to sacrifice ourselves on the altar of our business, to serve without ever being replenished. And that too can be terrible tragedy, because as we flame out, our business and the service that we were giving others goes with us. And so, man, the power of what you just said can't be overstated, Amanda. And your realization of sustainability and sanity is, I think, really the core of what we're talking about today, both with Profit First, where profits will either leak out to somebody else, or bank on yourself, where banking can be the main source and driver of someone's either financial success or failure. So I'm not going to take it too much further, but I will say, if we're not profitable, we're hurting other people. If we're not profitable, we're hurting others. And so that's maybe a summary of what I just heard you say, Amanda. As I was reading through Profit First, I was immediately struck by the principles in their philosophy. But I was disappointed with just one thing that I think, Amanda, you found the solution to. Now, what I was disappointed in with Profit First was, they immediately asked us to set up a bunch of bank accounts and letting all this money just sour inside a regular bank account, giving us zero interest, and providing all the problems that come with traditional banking. So I immediately began to think through my options when I was thinking about how to implement the Profit First philosophy into a strategy that made sense for me, for my business. And as an expert in Bank on Yourself, that strategy immediately clicked in like two sides of a zipper. It immediately clicked in, and it immediately came to mind as a potent implementation application of the Profit First philosophy. It was almost like we had the philosophy of Profit First with the receptacle or the answer of Bank on Yourself as a way to implement it. If I see if I'm playing golf and I want to get my ball down the field, I got to get the right club to get it down the field. And Bank on Yourself was that club for the Profit First philosophy. And so, dividend paying payments, passive income, tax advantages, the liquid access to my cash, all of that made perfect sense with the Profit First philosophy. So that's a bit more context to my story and where this came all together for me as I was discovering how this strategy worked.
Great. Thank you, Mark. So our stories are all well and good, but how does this apply to you? I mean, your story won't be identical to ours. You have your own unique opportunities and challenges along your path toward freedom and what that means to you. What would it mean for you to make your business profitable? What would it mean to be able to choose your own adventure? What will be the unique story that you tell in a couple years' time, or in the longer term future to your grandkids or other youth that you mentor? I mean, do you want to tell a story of getting lucky and choosing the right stocks at the right time? What if your story toward profitability and wealth wasn't even really about money? I mean, if you notice in our story, money plays a supporting role, but Brandon and I remain the stars. In Mark's story, it was his unique thinking that brought his story to life. I mean, when we're 70 or 80 years old, we're going to take home the Oscar, right? Not our family or not our money, right? And our family is going to be so proud of us. They're going to grieve us when we, get our wings more than they celebrate the business or the money that, we leave to them to continue our legacy. So you might want your business to be more profitable. You might want the story of money on the personal side to be safe, accessible, and consistently growing. You might simply just want an efficient way to manage your personal and business cash flow. Those are all really good things and things that I think you can find by these concepts, these systems, these strategies that we refer to as Bank on Yourself and Profit First. Because really, what I've found with these is that they're really formulas. They're not cookie cutter, boxes that you've got to, shape and twist your business or your personal goals and dreams to fit inside. They're formulas. You plug in your variables, your unique numbers, right? And it helps you figure out where to go with them. They're, because Bank on Yourself and Profit First have both worked for countless individuals and businesses because they're fully customizable, right? Bank on Yourself builds on 100-year-old history of wealth building for families. And there are Bank on Yourself professionals who are trained to custom tailor each strategy. And then Profit First has been developed studying the thousands of healthiest businesses and their best practices. And there's a whole Profit First professional network that are trained in advanced strategies and ways to fully customize the Profit First formula to fit at all kinds of unique businesses, including, ones that are just starting out and ones that have been around for generations. The concepts are so powerful that these professionals get to help promote and implement the concepts and have made that their life's work because they know how much it can transform other people's story with money. So what now that we've kind of got those introductory things out of the way, here's what we're going to cover to really give you an idea. What is Bank on Yourself? What is Profit First? How can they work together? So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about what is Bank on Yourself. I'm kind of titled this part, How to Beat the Banks at Their Own Game. And then we're also going to talk about how to break that paycheck to paycheck cycle, take profit from your next deposit, or what is Profit First. And then finally, we'll talk about how the two systems work together. And it goes to one of those awesome times when you take one thing and you add another thing to it and it becomes more than the sum of its parts. And how Bank on Yourself plus Profit First can actually do more than just one or the other. But both of them together can work in harmony and create something better. Mark uses this analogy, nitro and glycerin. I don't really know what that means, but I assume it means that the sum is greater than the parts.
It means kaboom.
Okay. So let's talk first about how to beat the banks at their own game. I want to tell you the story of one of my favorite clients who he told me, I don't really understand what it means to think like a banker. And we went through a long process. He's a real estate and a business owner. And just recently, he was telling his team that's part of his business. He's like, I got to tell you about this. My dollars are now doing multiple jobs and I'm so excited about it. He was shouting it from the rooftops and was super pumped to like share this with the people working for him. And he only started doing Bank on Yourself back in December, like less than a year now. And what he's been doing is when he takes his profit distributions each quarter, he's been putting them into his Bank on Yourself type whole life policy. And recently, he had this great opportunity to experience some growth in his business. So he took what we call a policy loan, and he lent that money to his business so that they could do that great opportunity and grow. And like a good banker, he's charging his business 7% interest. So he's able to have his dollars in the policy. They're still growing. They're still going to receive the same dividends as if he didn't take a policy loan. They're also deployed in his business, helping him take advantage of this opportunity and earning him 7% interest, which then he's going to put back into his policy to get even more growth and even more dividends there. So his cash is growing, and he can pay it back on his own schedule too. That 7% interest he's charging his business, he got to decide that. He's the banker. He can also decide if his business needs to start paying it right away or if it can wait for a while. That's all in his purview. He's the boss. And I was joking with him. He was asking me, what should I do? What do I need to do? And I said, you're the boss. You get to call the shots. And he's like, no one's ever told me that before about my money. He's used to, the Internal Revenue Service saying, you got to follow these rules, or, his accountant saying, you got to, do this system. He was so excited that he finally got to decide what he wanted his money to do for him and what that should look like to help him get the best results that he wanted. Now, Bank on Yourself, like I shared before, it's been used by thousands of families. And really, the whole idea behind it is to be set for life without taking unnecessary risk. And families use this all the time as a safe, predictable alternative to other types of savings and investing vehicles. But then with business owners in particular, there have been many who have used the Bank on Yourself concept to take control of the banking portion of their business and become their own source of financing for all kinds of opportunities to grow their businesses and to, take that next step that they want. I mean, because frankly, as a business owner, you're already in the banking business. You might have accounts receivable that you're waiting for people to pay. That kind of makes you a lender, right? You might be holding money temporarily that eventually needs to go to the Internal Revenue Service. You're kind of, being a bank in that way. There's so many other examples that, like, if we're already in it, why don't we decide to take control of that and use it to our advantage, not just the advantage of someone else? So you might be saying at this point, we've kind of given a basic overview of Bank on Yourself, but you might be saying, yeah, but I've heard that whole life gets such a low rate of return. I can probably do better in the stock market. How will Bank on Yourself actually help me grow wealth and get a good return on investment? And that's a totally legitimate question. If it was all about return on investment, that would be pretty important question to be asking. But I think the truth we need to remember as business owners, especially, that the return of our money is more important than the return on our money. The biggest risk we're taking in business is our business, right? That our business will actually work, that the economy won't shift, or our local neighborhood won't shift, or whatever it is. Do we really want to take more risk with our money in order to maybe possibly get a better ROI? Or do we want a safe place that we know our money is going to be there for us when we need it? And the other truth is that Bank on Yourself isn't an either or option. It doesn't take away your options for if you did want to, you saw a great opportunity in the stock market or the real estate market, and you wanted to go invest in those, your money is safe, accessible, liquid. You can go do that. And in a lot of ways, Bank on Yourself can become a volatility buffer that when the market is going up and down, that it can help buffer you against the consequences of that volatility and serve as a nice foundation for a diversified portfolio. I don't think Mark or us would ever tell you only do Bank on Yourself. It's yes, do Bank on Yourself and use that for the other parts of your portfolio to help them run better. Help them get you better results, whether it's in your business, the stock market, the real estate market, or what have you. So that's the whole idea, pun intended, whole idea behind Bank on Yourself. I'm going to pause here for a second before we go into profit first, just to check in, see, Mark, if you wanted to add anything to that, if there's any questions we should for sure dive into before we go give a basic overview of profit first.
Joe had a really great question, and I'll toss it to you, Amanda. He writes, if you're in a job, if you have a W-2 job, not a business owner, and let's say also that you have no debt, except maybe the home mortgage, do either of these processes still help? Is it still helpful to have Bank on Yourself in your portfolio if you're just working a day job and have no other debt besides the house?
Great question, Joe. Thanks for asking. The first thing I think of is that you probably, if you don't have any debt, you might be paying cash for major purchases. Maybe when you need a new car or other things like a roof repair, right? There are all kinds of major expenses that come in your life. If you have any of those, Bank on Yourself can help you not lose the opportunity cost on those funds, but have those funds that you're going to spend to buy the car anyway, that you're going to spend to buy, to replace the roof or whatever the major expense is, to have those funds still grow for you for the rest of your life and not lose what they could have been had you not spent them. And then the other part of it is especially if you're in a W-2 job, you might not want to work that job forever. You might want to retire one day, whether that means you sit with your feet up and enjoy doing nothing, or whether that means you start doing your passion or travel the world or whatever it is. And at that point, you're going to want a big bucket of cash that can help fund your lifestyle, buy groceries, do what you need. And if you have a 401k through work or an IRA, you've been diligently investing, Bank on Yourself can actually help go along with whatever you're doing to make sure that you don't run out of money and that you're able to live that retirement lifestyle that you want. Anything you'd add to that answer, Mark?
Well, yes, I think your point about financing everything we buy is true. Either we pay interest to a bank or we pass up interest we could have earned on the money had we left it in the bank and not bought that car. Also, if all of our money is tied up in a employer-sponsored 401k, don't you think that puts you at risk, both in terms of the stock market and inflation and the government's future taxation and your employer, by the way, who, until you leave that company, it's a profit-sharing plan, meaning it's their asset as much as yours. So, considering a diversified portfolio is a great idea, especially and even if you're a W-2 day job employee. So that's great. Great question, Joe. All right. We better keep rolling as our time is moving here, but there are other questions. We will be answering them in the chat.
Perfect. Okay. Question or secret number 2, the breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle for your business, taking profit from your next deposit. So, many business owners think my business is to small, it's too big, it's too early, it's too late, it's too fast growing, or it's not growing fast enough in order to do profit first. That's the most common thing we hear as an objection to profit first. My business is too, and all of those things are people think I can't do profit first because. Let me share a really quick story. I know of a business owner who got their first big tax bill and had that holy cow moment. How am I going to pay this? There's no money to I don't know why I'm getting this big tax bill. I don't have the money in my bank to pay that tax, right? And about that same time was when she discovered Profit First. And it was still kind of early in the business. They were still figuring out how to make their business work and, all that kind of thing. So she didn't jump all in, but all she did for 1 year was just set aside 1% for taxes. Every single deposit they got, she would just move 1%, move the decimal point over 2 points and put that 1% in a separate savings account. She didn't even tell her business partner she was doing this. She just did it because she's like, I don't want to have to deal with this next tax year. And then, of course, they got to the next tax year and bam, she had enough money to pay the taxes and a little bit left over that they could take as a profit distribution. And that was enough for her to prove that Profit First works. And she actually now has become a person that teaches Profit First professionals how to help others implement Profit First. So she's like a coach of us professionals. And that's part of why I heard her story, because she's taught me a lot about how Profit First works. And I love that you don't have to go 100% all the way with the Profit First system right away. You can start with even just 1% and start building that habit. Prove to yourself that Profit First works. Because I believe this to be true. If you want to be profitable, you'll find a way to be profitable. I mean, for us, once we decided to make our business profitable, no matter what, we still had to figure out how. And that's really where this 1% made a huge difference. We started to think, how could we increase our sales by 1%? A coffee shop, that's each employee trying to sell one extra pastry per shift, right? By simply asking each customer, would you like to add a muffin to that? Or we've got some fresh baked croissants. Would you like one? Right? Like really simple, easy thing for people to, for us to train our employees to start doing, which would increase our sales. It also looked like 1% decrease in costs to improve our profitability. For us as a coffee shop, that was helping our staff learn how to measure their milk when they were going to steam it for a latte so that they weren't steaming too much and having to waste that milk. That gave us that 1% shift that we needed to get closer to more and more profit. And this is really a great way to get your team on board, is to think, have them think along with you. What are 1% shifts we could make to increase our sales, to decrease our costs so that we improve our profit margins, right? And I'm sure if you asked your employees, if you have them, or you just sit yourself and you brainstorm ideas, you could probably come up with a bunch. And that gives you a whole lot of ways to figure out how to become more profitable. And then along the way, you can learn more and more ways to do that. And this process, this looking just for the 1% shifts, is what showed us that we needed to actually transition to an entirely different industry rather than just do small pivots and follow kind of that lean startup model that way. And that could happen for you. Maybe it doesn't. You won't know until you start like those 1% shifts and you see where they lead. So here's the truth. You might be thinking, my business is too, fill in the blank, small, big, early, late, growing too fast, growing too slow. But I think that's exactly why Profit First is something that you need to help your business be bigger, to help your business stay small, to help your business in its early stages or its late stages. Really, the thing about profit is it helps you be who you want to be. When you're not profitable, you're stuck with where you are. But when you have profit, that actually increases your options to make changes, to do different things, because you have that room to grow in or to shrink in the ways that you want to, right? It's really all about breaking the cycle for good. And this chart up here comes directly from the Profit First book by Mike Michalowicz. He's the wonderful creator of the Profit First system. Again, he developed it from studying thousands of healthy businesses. And it's the system that you can easily customize to your business, and it can evolve as your business changes. Like, we shared, you could start with just 1%, right? That you put aside for paying taxes. You could jump all in and you can start with the numbers you see here. More likely than not, we'd say don't jump in and start with some of these numbers that you see here. Start with where you are and then start making slow, small adjustments to get to maybe these numbers that you see here. And when in doubt, the Profit First mantra is add a bank account, which when we get to how Bank on Yourself and Profit First combine, it doesn't have to be a checking or savings account, but add a bank account to help continue to customize and make this system your own. And if you happen to be a business with investors, I just want to put out there, Profit First is totally investor friendly. I actually have a really good friend that's in her Series A round right now. And we've had some really awesome conversations about how Profit First actually helps her with pitching her company to potential investors. Because guess what? She's profitable. They know they're going to get an ROI on their investment that they're making with her business.
Wow, Amanda, you bring up a great point. Having even 1% profit, you can claim that you are a profitable business. Not even Uber can say that.
Yep.
So that's huge. And I'll say one quick thing before you lead us to the mind-blowing secret number 3 of how to combine these two together. But you guys just sent me a picture of what you bought with your profit account. Do you want to tell our listeners what you guys bought from your profit distributions?
Yeah, we totally bought a fire pit for our new backyard at our new home, so that we can sit out there this fall and enjoy the fire, roast marshmallows, whatever we want to do.
And we had a number of back and forth corny jokes. I wrote you and said, "Are you burning your profits?" And I said, "You should check your burn rate in your business." And you guys said, "There's s'mores to life than money." So there were some pretty great back and forths there. So it can be a lot of fun to be profitable, even if it's just corny jokes.
Absolutely. Great point, Mark. Anything else you want to add about Profit First?
Well, just great points. I love the ideas. Very simple. And, guys, if you have any questions on that chart shown there, those are guidelines, right? Those are just ideas or targets. So start with 1% profit if that's all you can do this quarter, and then move your way up.
Absolutely. Great. Okay. Finally, what you've all been waiting for, I'm sure. How do Bank on Yourself and Profit First work together? We finally get to the good stuff. So let's talk about it. Some business owners say, I don't know how to make my business and personal finances work in coordination. Am I even allowed to think about that question? And I want to explain, for tax and liability reasons, you do have to keep them separate. There's a clear, line between business and personal money, right? We all hopefully know that and are, have separate accounts, separate logs, stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that they're not cohesive for your personal benefit, for your business health, for the impact you want to make. Your business and personal finances have to be cohesive. They have to work together. They have to make something happen for you that you want to see happen, right? So for us, Bank on Yourself showed us that we could reach our personal financial goals. It got us thinking long-term. It made us better than debt-free. And then Profit First helped us align our business with those personal goals and that long-term vision so that our business is really working for us. And then now our profit And if you're familiar with the Profit First system, some of our tax accounts, some of our owner's comp, we now have a vault, all of those kind of accounts go to us, and then they go into our bank on yourself type policies. And then when our business needs a cash influx, we can loan those funds back to the business rather than use a line of credit or a credit card or go begging to the SBA for a loan or whatever it might be. And the power of that was really proven for us during, we had a flood in our business. And a month later, we found out we were pregnant and decided to try to sell that business. And due to that flood, our business could have totally closed. But because we had cash in the bank on yourself, type whole life policies, we were able to still pay our rent, still put, groceries in our fridge, still make our business work so that it would still look good to someone that we could sell it to and transition to a different place. If we had to go in debt because of that flood or not been able to make it through, who knows what could have happened, especially in terms of then trying to sell the business to someone else. So this is really, I'm a visual thinker. I wanted to give you a visual of how this works for us. And you'll see at the bottom, the fine print, how this works for you will probably be totally different, but this is how it works for us. So here's the profit first model. You've got your revenue, and then you divide that out into your profit, your owner's comp, your taxes, and your operating expenses. Basic profit first cash flow system there.
And Amanda, each of those 4 buckets are different bank accounts. So you got 5 bank accounts altogether. The one bank account where all your cash flows in, called your revenue. And then you've got all those 4 other accounts. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. And then on the personal side, we have our income, what we pay ourselves, and that can really only go so many places. It can go to savings, investing, or to lifestyle. You might add a circle there for debt if you have debt, but I put debt kind of as a subcategory of lifestyle because you're really just paying for past lifestyle choices with debt there. And then you'll notice there we put a line down the between those two. That's your tax line or your separation line. Got to keep it separated. And anytime you move profit, owner's comp, taxes across that line, you have to, of course, pay income taxes on that. It becomes personal assets rather than business assets, all those fun things that you'll talk to an accountant about. But here's where kind of the magic happens for us. We also have a bank on yourself type whole life policy that we love to just call our vault because that's a lot shorter. And we put our savings there. We put what we want to invest there. And we put what we will eventually pay to the Internal Revenue Service there in terms of our income taxes. And it grows for us for the rest of our life and provides a death benefit in case something should happen to one of us. And there's, you'll notice it's policies. There's not just one, there's multiple. And then when an opportunity arises, whether a personal opportunity or for illustration purposes here, we're going to pretend it's a business opportunity, we're able to take funds out of our whole life policies, put it into a special growth fund, which we like to use a separate bank account for that to hold the funds temporarily. So then we can deploy them into the things we want to do to grow the business. And then hopefully that works. It's a growth fund. It should drive our revenue, which then feeds the whole system. And we can use some of that revenue to increase our profit, our owner's comp and taxes, which then increase our income and keep the whole money system flowing here. Again, yours might look totally different and ours is a little more complicated than that, but to fit it on one screen and one picture, that's kind of how it works for us. And I know Mark has a great example that he wanted to share too about how he's using these systems together.
Sure, yes. So guys, and I'm not sure if I'm able to be presenter for a quick minute. Amanda,
Yeah.
Is that possible on my side?
think
Okay. So, let's see if I can I do it here? So what I'd like to talk about quickly, very quickly, is just how you actually do that visually on your tracking system. Some people use a legal pad. Other people have a whiteboard where all their cash is. You can have a complicated piece of software. I have found oftentimes the best is simply just to be working with the tool that makes you the most profitable you can be. So I'm going to see how do I share my screen? Am I sharing my screen already?
I don't.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. I'll pull this up. Okay, there we go. So this is a quick picture of what happens when you put money into a policy. This is our budgeting tool, and everyone who's on our webinar right now gets a copy of this. After our webinar is over, we'll send you a link to this so you can enjoy it and use it. But the idea would be putting your cash values in the top screen here. So let's say policy 1, what you can borrow from that policy. Maybe this is Sam's policy. And maybe on today's date, you log in and it's $22,000. Susie's policy. Maybe her policy as of today is $14,500. And on today's date, being November 12th, we've got $36,500 to put aside. Now, we've got our taxes bucket, we've got our investing bucket, and then we've got several different lifestyle buckets. Heck, we've even got a debt bucket right here. And for more information on how to pay off your debt with your policy, check out our last quarters or 2 quarters ago, our live episode on the debt snowbank method. And you can see the YouTube link right there in this link that I'll be sending you guys. So the point of this is every quarter, you funnel more of your money into premium into these policies, and you start building up your cash allocations. So if you need, let's say you need a tax bill of 10 grand at the end of the year, well, let's see, what would that be? That'd be, call it 3-4 grand a quarter, let's say. So let's just say 3 grand needs to go in this taxes bucket. And let's say that you have some lifestyle expenses you want to put aside. So we're going to put 5,000 for the travel. We're going to have 15,000 for the new car. We're going to have certainly a number of dollars down here in our emergency fund. And so we've got to set aside a little bit of cash. We've got $3,500 left in our real estate investing for now, and we're done. See how that little green cell appears when you've budgeted every last dollar? The key here is allocating all your cash value, just like you do anything else, into the buckets that Profit First recommends. We like to also say the phrase, give every dollar a job. So you don't want your cash value languishing in your policy. You want to keep it working for you and doing what you want it to do. So I've got more information on this if you'd like. When I send you the link, watch our video playlist on how to exactly do this. There's several different videos, each 5 to 10 minutes long a piece, where you can watch how we fill this out and how we use it, and even when we borrow against it, how that all works. So this is how we do it, sort of a customized version of some similar software out there. I'm sure you could create your own version, but this keeps it nice and simple and helps you make sure that no matter if you have 1 policy or 50, you can use the Profit First philosophy inside your Bank on Yourself policies. I'll make you presenter again, Miss Amanda, here. Oh.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back to sharing my screen. Okay, so you might be saying to yourself, this seems way too complicated. How will I ever keep track? Is my accountant going to get mad at me if I have all of these accounts and I'm moving money around so much? And I want to put your thinking at ease. You don't have to build everything overnight. Remember, we started with the power of just 1% shifts and what you can do to start implementing some of these ideas, prove to yourself that they work, and you can always add a new element as you're ready. Some businesses take a whole year or more to implement Profit First. Setting up a Bank on Yourself policy takes time too. If you wanted to start today, we'd say, wait, we got to take some steps before you can start one. So this doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to happen, really quickly. And in fact, what we found is it's way simpler and less stressful than not knowing where your money is or what it could be doing, right? If you just have one big bank account right now, you don't know what that money is supposed to be doing for you or how much you really have to spend on this or that, whether it's in your business or on your personal side. But having multiple places that money can be that are there for specific purposes can really make things a lot simpler and less stressful for you. You can know when you look at the balance of that bank account or the loanable value of that whole life policy, you can know, oh, I have this much to do X, Y, or Z. Again, we're here to tell you a lot of truth. The reason you started a business in the first place is likely to have freedom, whether it's time freedom, money freedom, whatever that definition is for you. Freedom to have time with your kids or freedom to do what you really love. But in other words, the money in both places, your business and on the personal side, have common goals, and they need to work together toward those goals. The systems need to become one system that helps you manage your cash flow, leverage your assets, and increase your profits, and really live the life you want to live and have the business you want to have. So setting up this kind of cash flow management system is really a shortcut to telling your money what you want it to do for you, giving every dollar a job, like Mark just said, and keeping everything working for your ultimate goals, whatever that looks like for you. So hopefully you're really excited now. I want to hear from you. Are you enjoying what we've been talking about so far? If so, say yes in the chat/Q&A. We're about to jump into those cues and spend some time talking about them. A little recap of what we've covered. You're already in the banking business. By using Bank on Yourself, you can beat the banks at their own game. Hopefully you want your business to be profitable, and profit first is the way to start taking a profit from your next deposit, even if it's just a 1% shift of money toward an account for taxes. Or maybe it's a 3% shift. Wherever you're ready for, you can start that. And then you can bring those things together to actually create a whole system that helps you achieve the results you want to achieve over the long term, and know what it is that ultimately you want your money to do for you, and that it is accomplishing what you want it to do. That really is the power of how these two things can work together. So I also want to know from you, who's ready to take it to the next level? And you're like, that commitment I made at the beginning, I'm ready. I believe that profit first and or Bank on Yourself could benefit me, and I'm ready. So if that's you're ready to go, type that into the Q&A box. I'm ready. Go ahead and put that in there. I'll see that in just a minute when I'm done sharing my screen. But if you are ready, I want to share with you what the next step is. How do you take things to the next level? Don't worry. We're not going to ask for any money today. This is not a sales presentation. This is a educational, hopefully entertaining video slash podcast that that shows you what this could mean for you and how to take the next step and figure out if it really will benefit you. You know, we shared before, you have to work with a professional. You don't have to. Well, for Bank on Yourself, you have to. Profit first, there's plenty of people that implement it on their own, but most people read the book and never actually take action. So it's really great to work with a professional. So before I dig myself in the holes, I want to share with you, if you want to find out if Bank on Yourself is a good fit for you, for your family, your first step is to schedule an intro call. During that call, we'll answer any questions you've thought of between today and when we talk, and we'll talk about what our process is to set up a Bank on Yourself type policy. We do offer a complimentary financial analysis to help you see if Bank on Yourself could benefit you and your family. So this link that's in the slides here, you can go to that link. It's a bit.ly to keep it short for you, but I think Brandon's also going to put it in the Q&A so that you can just click and it'll open it up for you. So if you want to discover if Bank on Yourself is a good fit for you, go to that link. If you're totally pumped right now about Profit First and you want to find out if it's a good fit for you, your first step is to schedule an intro call. During that call, we'll answer any questions you've thought of. We'll get to know your business, and we'll help you determine if and how we can help you implement Profit First in your business. Now, the typical offerings, we have a do-it-yourself online course that'll help you take the Profit First concept and implement it in your business, and also make sure that it's going to help you on the personal side of your finances as well. And then we also have a done with you consulting program that will help you implement Profit First in a more hands-on way and walk you through the time that it takes, right? To start small and continue to adjust until you feel like you're at the place you want to be with the profitability in your business. So that we'll talk about more about those offerings on that call, or maybe just whatever it might be, to talk about how Profit First can benefit you and your business. And then you also might be in the place where you're like, I want to learn how Banking Yourself and Profit First can work better together, and more about what that looks like. And as you might have guessed, your first step is to schedule an intro call. Really easy, same first step for all three of these things. And of course, we'll start with answering any questions you've thought of, but then we'll help you brainstorm what's your best next step. Should you start with Banking Yourself? Should you start with Profit First? Can you jump in and do both at the same time? What does that look like? What other adjustments maybe do you need to make before you do those things? And how would that work? We totally recognize that sometimes people, they love the concept, but they're not ready to start yet. They've got some other fish they've got to fry first, or something like that. And we'll totally tell you that because we want what's best for you, right? So again, the same link, but I've got one more thing to share.
And then we'll before you jump into that, one more thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Amanda.
You're all good.
Let's read that link for those, if this goes audio only.
Oh.
The link there is bit.ly/BOYPF123. And we'll put that in the show notes, of course, but that's bit.ly/BOYPF123.
Thank you, Mark. And then but wait, there's more, is for the people that are live right now on the live show. If you schedule an appointment with us before the end of this live call, before we're done with all the Q's and A's, in addition to that complimentary session where we'll help you find your best next steps, if one of those best next steps would be our Fast Track to Freedom signature program, we're going to give you half off that guided, done with you program to help you implement Profit First within your business, get more clear on how your business can help you achieve your personal dreams and goals. That's our gift to you, because we know that if you're here, you're live with us, you take action right away. We know that you're a go-getter, that you're going to make this happen. And it's going to be a lot easier for us to help you make it happen because you're going to want it, right? So all you got to do when you have your appointment time that you book at the link is remind us, and we'll make sure we get you that 50% discount. No other action is needed in that regard. I'm going to leave that slide up for a second and come back to the Q&A. Hopefully Brandon can unmute himself and we can jump in.
Can you hear me here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Yeah, that was great, Amanda. She's really good at being a presenter and making things really simple. Like I said, if I can understand it, she does this all the time, so she has lots of practice. And Roseanne asked, yes, but now I need to go read Profit First. I still don't fully understand how it works. So what would you say to Roseanne about that? What would you answer, Amanda?
Yeah, I think Profit First is a great book. I totally recommend reading it or listening to the Audible version if you're more of a listener. There's also some really great resources that we have access to as Profit First professionals that can help you get to know the concept even faster than just reading through the whole book cover to cover, and get started even more quickly. And we would love to share those with you. So please, before you go get the book and read it, sign up for one of those intro calls, and we'll talk about how you could get familiar with how it works, really understand it without having to read, cover to cover right away. We've got some great resources in that regard.
Yeah, I would add to that one of those resources that Amanda isn't sharing is we created a master class because we saw like this kind of the profit first concept, and banking yourself is almost like a master's degree or something like that, and there was like a step missing. And so we were like, well, what do we do here? How do we help people think about this in an easy way? And so we created this masterclass that isn't the point of our call today, but that might be what, as we talk to you guys, a masterclass might be what we share is the most important at that point. Or some people maybe at graduate level, I don't know what you call it, not that we're measuring anything, but it might be a different story.
Mm-hmm. And I would say plenty of people read the book and still don't understand how it works. They still never get to the implementation, and that's part of why people learn in different ways. So don't feel like the book is the only way to learn.
Cheryl has a question. She raised her hand. Should I bring her on?
If possible, that'd be great. Yeah.
Bring her
on while you're doing that, and while we're getting the audio hooked up. I had a summary question. Someone wanted to kind of just understand why a whole life policy is better than a checking account in summary. Could you kind of distill it in a couple of sentences or two, Amanda? Like, why would we use life insurance as our vault, our kind of hold accounts for the Profit First system? Why is that better than a checking account?
Great question. So I would kind of turn that around with a question like, when you then take the money out of the checking account and pay taxes or, use it for whatever you need, does the bank pay you any interest still on that money?
Of course not. No, you're down to zero.
Yeah.
And you got to break compound growth, and you're only going to see growth starting to grow again slowly as you're able to save up for next quarter's taxes or the next distribution.
Yeah. And then I'd also, when the money is in the bank, how much interest are they paying you?
Oh, pennies, less than pennies.
Yeah. And most checking accounts aren't interest bearing either, right? And now when you put that same cash into a whole life policy, what's different?
Well, you get the uninterrupted compound growth even when you access the cash for through the loan feature for taxes or your next profit distribution or other big expenses you need to take. There's the tax advantages of life insurance. It is life insurance, so there's that multiple there if you pass away, and it's also kind of a self-completing golden parachute for your retirement. Whereas, if you've just got a checking account, you don't have an asset on the balance sheet. But when you've got a whole life policy, you've got yourself your retirement sort of waiting in the wings, ready to walk away from the business if it's not sellable, or to make it as a part of the business sale to make your golden parachute that much more golden. Is that the right word?
Sure. Yeah.
But
great answers to this. Oh, I was going to add one thing. You might be picking up on this already if you're familiar with whole life insurance. You might have picked up this is a different kind of whole life insurance. It's not universal life. It's not variable universal life or indexed universal life. It's not kind of the same exact whole life insurance that your grandma would have had. it's structured in a very particular way. There's only a few select companies that we can do this with. That's why you really have to work with a bank on yourself professional in order to set this up the right way to get all of those advantages that Mark was talking about. Now, what were you going to say, Brandon?
I was going to add, so with us, what's the death benefit on a savings account? And what's the death benefit on putting it through the policy? So for us, with our taxes, I'm saving for taxes, but let's say something happens to me today, she might have that money saved, 10,000, 20, whatever it is. But then we put it through the taxes or through the policy, and she's going to get that death benefit if something happened to me, as opposed to, all right, here's the savings account that I still owe to the IRS.
Great point, Brandon.
Awesome. Let's see if Cheryl can come on here. Cheryl, it looks like we're seeing an error in using microphones, so we might need you to maybe try a different microphone, possibly. So we'll let you kind of work that out. That's what I see anyway. Brandon, do you see anything different on your side?
I just see, yeah, I was trying to figure that out.
You might need to reconnect, maybe call in, Cheryl, if you want to bring your voice on. I saw a question here. It said, is there a percentage of revenue that you allocate for profit? It's my favorite guest on our webinar today, Katrina. So is there a percentage of revenue that you allocate for profit?
Yeah, so that's where the profit first formula comes into play. You plug in what your gross revenue is, and it tells you the healthiest businesses take this percent for profit. So for example, if your revenue is $100,000, the profit first formula would say to take 5% for profit. However, that might not be where your business is now. And you might start with 1% and then grow your way up to 5%. And then when your business hits the next barrier, you or like next level of gross revenue, you actually shift your profit and it becomes a different amount. What in the profit first language, they're called target allocation percentages, which is the target that's part of the chart that we shared earlier. And then there's their current allocation percentages, what you're able to currently do. And you kind of move from the current to the target.
Awesome, Amanda. Thank you. Yeah, it's a guidepost. Yeah. And that's awesome. Thank you very much. All right. I don't see any other questions as we are working on things here. So Amanda, why don't you wrap us up and help us know what we need to do again one more time? Then we'll let folks get on to their Saturday.
Yes, please check out that bit.ly link. I'll read it again for anyone that's just listening. It's bit.ly/BOYPF123, as in bank on yourself profit first, BOYPF, and then the numbers 1, 2, 3. And that'll take you to a place where you can say whether you want to talk more about bank on yourself, talk more about profit first, or talk about how to combine the two together. And when you choose your selection, it will take you to a calendar where you can schedule an appointment and start moving forward right away. We have cleared time on our calendar knowing that we were doing this presentation today and would love to make sure we talk with you as soon as possible so that you can get going as soon as possible. We know when you participate in something like this, you get really excited and you want to start right away. And we wanted to make sure you can do that as quickly as you can. So please visit that link, get something booked before the calendars book up, and we will look forward to talking to you very soon. You can, of course, always reach out to us. If you aren't able, for some reason, you're away from your desk or something, you're not able to go to that link right now, we're always available to talk to you. But of course, if you do that right now, you're able to get that 50% discount on the Fast Track to Freedom signature program that we've put together.
And we do this 50% because we know that if you hang up on this webinar and move on with your day, like me, I'll walk into my closet and forget why I was walking in there. And so as soon as I hang up that phone, I'm forgetting what I was talking to that person about. So take action while you can, while you're thinking about it. All it is a quick 15-minute phone call with Brandon, Amanda, or myself. If you've already got a bank on yourself type policy with one of us, chat with Brandon and Amanda via Profit First. If you're excited to get started on Bank on Yourself or Profit First, click on the buttons appropriate for your situation. We would love to have just a light, no obligation conversation to answer your questions and point you in the right direction toward resources. Brandon, Amanda, any final thoughts as we're wrapping up here?
I want to reiterate a big thank you to you, Mark, for introducing us to Bank on Yourself, helping us realize how the financial industry really works, and bringing our knowledge above just the average knowledge of how things are working. And thanks for being a comrade with us in the Profit First world. It's fun to always bounce ideas off of you of how Profit First is working and how do we, spend our operating expenses most effectively and stuff like that. So thank you for everything, and especially for the opportunity to share with the Not Your Average Financial Podcast listeners today.
Well, and to celebrate your profit distributions by, you guys are smoking me with your profit distributions coming off of a fire pit. That's awesome. I love it. And guys, most of our Not Your Average strategies are aimed toward Wall Street, and there's nothing wrong with Wall Street, and there's nothing wrong with having a diversified portfolio. And we certainly need to criticize and clarify that Wall Street is not the only answer. Similarly, on the business owner side, cash and checking accounts are not the only answer. And so what we're describing on this episode points to not your average business practices, because the average business keeps a bunch of money in their business checking account or lines of credit with the bank where they're in debt up to their eyeballs. We could have another whole webinar on examples of business owners who are paying 30-50% interest toward those loan sharks. I'll leave them unnamed, but we all know who they are. If you're in business, you get those mail letters all the time offering you, quick lines of credit and high interest rates. And I've seen businesses go under because they can't keep up with those massive payments. This is not so average ways to being successful and profitable in your business. Today, literally Monday morning, your next bank deposit, you could be profitable if you're willing and ready to take the next step. So for all people here, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend. And thank you all for joining us for a live episode of Not Your Average Financial Podcast, helping you guys think different about your business, your money, your economy, and your future. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. That bit.ly link that you see on your screen right now is still working. You can still follow up and make an appointment. Unfortunately, the great 50% off deal is gone, but you can still get a great deal. Please make sure that you mention that you saw this recording when you schedule that appointment or when you're actually on the appointment. Go to that link. We'll put it in the description of this video too, in case you don't want to type it out. Hope to connect with you soon. Thanks for participating with our channel, and hope you get to be fully profit first and fully bank on yourself. Thanks. Take care.